Here we go.
Clearly, fame isn't everything.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
Pod dives down, what the fuck we going through? Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Welcome, 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 welcome. Not going to hold you long tonight because I do know that it is late. But as the live stream says, we do have a little bit to talk about with some of our late great friends from the 90s, Mr. Simmons and Mr. Combs. Now, the FBI has pretty much set the world on fire with whatever's going on with Mr. Combs, but I don't want to leave Mr. Simmons out because he too has had his fair share of troubles here recently. And as always, everything that we report on here at the community is for entertainment and educational purposes. All content, graphics, and intellectual property is the sole ownership of the original creators. Thank you for joining us. Here at the community, we do cover pop culture topics, but we cover them from a standpoint of growth and not gossip. So today we have with us, Mr. Simmons and Mr. Combs, who unfortunately have found themselves on the wrong end of a very, very unfortunate situation. Now, here's the real issue that we have with Russ and Sean. These people deserve, number one, their day in court. Anybody who has charges alleged against them, anyone who has allegations against them, deserve to have the facts tried, the evidence weighed, and for their guilt and or innocence to be confirmed, whether it's by preponderance of evidence in a civil trial or it is by unreasonable doubt in a criminal trial. People deserve to have their day in court to be fairly adjudicated by a jury of their peers. With that said, what is going on with these two gentlemen is most unfortunate, and it is a direct result of their own actions. So, this was the scene outside of Mr. Combs' house earlier in the week. There were federal agents surrounding his home. They were taking out evidence. He was not at the home at the time of the raid, but according to popular media reports, his children were possibly there, and the location was secured, and copious amounts of evidence was retrieved from the scene. So if you have not seen one of the gazillion headlines, Sean Combs' homes raided as a part of his sex trafficking investigation. They descended upon both his Los Angeles and Miami homes on Monday, 4 months after a sexual assault and sex trafficking claim made in a lawsuit by singer Cassie. So again, whether these allegations are true or not, everyone who is accused of a crime deserves to have a fair and honest trial with an adjudication of the facts. With that being said, Homeland Security does not waste this level of resource on rumors and innuendo. Federal judges are not in the habit of signing off on warrants to simultaneously raid two locations behind rumors, gossip, and foolishness off the internet. They are in the habit of collecting data. They are in the habit of collecting cell phones. They are in the habit of collecting footage. And that is how you end up with this kind of scene outside of your home. And that goes for presidents, politicians, moguls, you name it. When they have evidence against you and your criminality, then this is what happens outside of your home. So, unfortunately for Mr. Combs, Feds don't lose often, so we're going to wish Mr. Combs good luck with whatever he has going on with the DOJ. According to TMZ, he was traveling during the time of the raid, and at some point his private jet was landed in Antigua. So those are the local reports on Mr. Combs. If you want a detailed dive on all the things that are going on in the case, there are lots of channels that do that. But my problem with that particular story is these actors, him and the person we're looking at right now, have consistently been bad actors for a very long time. These men have been surrounded by people who enabled their bad behavior. These men were surrounded by people who took large sums of money and turned a blind eye to their criminality for a very long time. And now that the reckoning has started, we have people coming to the floor saying, I saw this. Yeah, we knew that there were certain bottles to drink out of. And the ones, if you were there when all of this criminality was going on and you said nothing, you did nothing to save the victims of who you knew this criminality who were going to be the victims. If you felt like those people in some way deserved the crimes that were going to be committed against them, that I don't have much sympathy for you about as much as I have for them. So here we have Mr. Do Run, Mr. Do Run Simmons, Mr. Russell Simmons, the Bali Big Mouth, who could have took his behind to the other side of the universe and been very quiet in his criminality and all of the allegations against him. That's why he finds himself hiding out in Southeast Asia. But nope, he couldn't. So, unfortunately for Mr. Simmons, he was sued for defamation by a former Def Jam employee named Drew Dixon. Drew Dixon came out and publicized what was a personal experience that happened to that individual. Mr. Simmons had lots to say about that, and even though the statute of limitations on the crime may have expired, you running your big flapping yakka from the other side of the world cost you a defamation lawsuit. But you thought you were in a safe place. And this is a lesson for all of those in the community. Accountability will find you wherever you are. So we're going to go over the court documents right quick on how Mr. Simmons found himself served in Bali. So another headline for one of the local papers: Russell Simmons surprised by process server in Bali. Oh, fuck, yes. Oh, he was swearing. He was swearing like a whole sailor. He thought he was over there on the other side of the world. Nobody was going to be able to touch him. He thought his money, his power, his privilege, and his lifetime of avoiding accountability was going to allow him to continue to have this posh lifestyle on the other side of the planet and continue to run his mouth about things that are going on over here, even though you have ditched any and all connection and responsibilities you have to the mainland USA. Russell Simmons has been blindsided by the service of process in 2 different lawsuits, with the process server tracking him down in Indonesia to serve him in both a defamation and a sexual assault lawsuit. So in both cases, the process server was a young man named Daniel Ayuba, who found him at the, whatever this is, the Jesus Bali Health and Wellness Spa, and the battle mogul was none too pleased. And of course, after he was handed the documents, he got on his phone with his lawyer swearing. But if you think that these are just false allegations, here's the court documents. Now, we're going to actually go through this very quickly because I found this to be sadly somewhat entertaining. Here it is from the process server. Duly sworn, he is over the age of 18 and he resides in Jakarta, India. First things first, that means they will find a local to walk up on you, like some person that's staff, some person that's a visitor, some person that would be unassuming to you, and hand you a piece of paper. He said he attached the following papers in order to attempt service on the defendant. He traveled from one particular area to where he was upon information and belief. I understand this resort to be owned by the defendant. He arrived there at 12:30. The entrance to the resort is along a small dead-end road ending in the Cadiz Ballas. It was necessary to pass through 2 security checks to enter the gate. After arriving, I spoke to some staff and expressed interest in the resort. After a short time looking around the public area in an attempt to see Simmons, I sat in a restaurant area and ordered some refreshments. So he made it past the checkpoints. He got into the front gate. He sat down and had a whole meal waiting on you while you have been walking around. And see, this is the problem when you commit crimes against the community, because understand, everybody that these people have hurt look like them. They are not out here criming against other people. They are criming against the people that supported them, that helped them, that aided them, that were their fans, their employees, their intimate partners. These are the kind of predators that are running around in our community, but because they have money, that money buys them privilege. And after a certain amount of privilege, you amass a certain amount of power, and you think that that absolves you from any accountability from your actions. And that is simply not the case. So after he was sitting there having his little snacky snack at the hotel, court documents say, this photograph was taken from the position where I was seated, looking across the restaurant. I was seated left-hand side of this photograph. I was advised by the staff that I could book a one-on-one yoga class, but that the instructor was a local Balinese person. The staff advised me that the early morning class was held at 7 to 8 a.m., so around 1:40. So he's now been there. He arrived at 12:50. He's eaten lunch. He is now inquired about a tour. It is now 1:40. At around 1:55, I guess, while on the tour, he recognized a person named Simmons who came up the stairs and into the restaurant area and stood right in front of where I was seated. Simmons was speaking to a woman whose name I did not know. From the photograph above, Simmons was standing between where I was seated and the left-hand side of the photograph, looking towards the sofa. I recognize the person. The service papers is well-known celebrity and is widely known in Bali, Indonesia, as well as the United States and other places. I identified him from his Instagram account and YouTube videos, as well as various news reports about him, which carried his photograph. This person was identified to be, there's his description, and he was served. So basically, a local person went into the establishment and was able to hand him the documents for both the defamation and SA lawsuit. Now, here's the deal. Now that he has been served, part of the reason why he is angry is because now he has to respond to these lawsuits. Because if he does not respond to these lawsuits, that means the judgment will automatically be entered against him, and he will be liable and basically guilty for all the things claimed in those lawsuits. So while Mr. Big Mouth Bali has been on the other side of the world, running his mouth, being rather reckless, inviting all his friends, lovers, compatriots, and compadres to come on down to his little spa and resort where he's been hiding from accountability, it's amazing just how far you can run and still be within the reach of the law. So the reckoning has begun for Mr. Simmons and clearly for Mr. Combs. Again, everybody deserves to have their day in court and to be fairly adjudicated. But you must recognize that the harm that you have done to others, the amount of trouble that you have caused people, was not going to go unnoticed by your victims or by the universe. So we're going to go ahead on and get out of here because I know it's late for some people. So if you are catching this on the replay, thank you if you have made it this far. We are well on our way to 1,000 subscribers. There's a new channel here again at the Comm-UNI-TEA. We do growth and not gossip. We cover pop culture stories from an angle that helps people in the community recognize that there are different choices that you can make. And if you do so, you can probably save yourself a lot of time, trouble, and expense. So as always, when I'm blessed enough to spend some time with you here on the YouTube, I want you to know that blessings, may they always chase you down. May trouble never find your door. May the power and purpose in you level up because the community needs those gifts. And anytime you have a chance to be kind, please do so. People need it. And until next time, stay safe.